You people who like to watch the show on Facebook, or those of you who like to watch on Instagram, good morning to you as well. I always wear the same thing, it's always a blue shirt, unless I put on my Browns fleece. But it's good to have you here on Thursday, September the 24th, in the year of the plague 2020, in the year in which originalists finally get to six. This is the year we have been waiting for since 1987, since the ambush of Judge Bork, since the closing of the American mind. I tried to explain to a friend offline last night why law people, rule of law people, originalists, constitutionalists, center right people are so eager to see President Trump nominate and the Senate quickly confirm a replacement for the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is an American original and quite a stalwart of the left and should be and is being honored by the country for her service. But we have been lied to and taken it on the chin for 33 years, since Judge Bork. Justices O'Connor and Kennedy often disappointed us. Justice Souter always disappointed us. The most important moment in the history of the Constitution for the last 33 years is when President George H.W. Bush picked Judge Souter, then Justice Souter of the New Hampshire Supreme Court, over Judge Edith Jones of the Fifth Circuit. Everything would have been different if Edith Jones had been picked, and Justice Souter of the state Supreme Court did not reveal to George H.W. Bush that he wasn't what President Bush was looking for. He wasn't straight with him. He just didn't tell him, and he was a lefty. And so we have watched again and again and again the Constitution be distorted and the rule of law broken in the interest of the rule of nine, with a majority of 5 unelected justices. Now, the issues on which the next Supreme Court, the next one being the one that exists after President Trump nominates and a new justice is sworn in, will deal with so many issues. The separation of powers, who gets to do what when in our government, the free exercise clause and its tension, so-called tension, with the establishment clause, the extent of free speech, and we need to protect free speech in this age of intolerance, the breadth of the Second Amendment. It's an individual right. The court ruled that in Heller. What does that mean? We have to worry about criminal procedure in the age of surveillance. And I'm here kind of a squish. I think that the surveillance state has become ubiquitous, and we have to worry about that. Whether or not we defer to regulatory agencies, and I'm against that. I think regulatory agencies are often populated by people who have no idea what they're doing and are righteous and extremist and indifferent to the rights of individual citizens. Property rights and the scope of regulatory takings especially have concerned me for years. I keep thinking of Tom Morger, who died years ago, owned a little land in Riverside County, banked his whole dream, the American dream, he and his wife. I helped them as much as I could. There was no stopping them. They had all their property taken by the confiscatory actions of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service and the Stevens Kangaroo Rat. They weren't big developers. They were little people, crushed by the government. And I'm animated by people like them who have their whole dreams destroyed by the regulatory state, federal and sometimes state. I think as well about people who are concerned about the rights of the state vis-a-vis the federal government, federalism. And just look, there is a scope of congressional power to regulate commerce, but it's gone crazy in recent years. Obamacare mandate, that was unconstitutional in the eyes of 4 justices. I understand and applaud Chief Justice Roberts' opinion in Obamacare. I'm not sure that Obamacare will survive. The mandate will survive. The mandate is gone, but that Obamacare will survive given the rescission by the Congress of the tax upon which it depended in the eyes of the Chief Justice. We will see. It won't matter much because the Congress is committed to supporting coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And, of course, reproductive rights are on the table. I do not believe same-sex marriage is on the table. That is done, finished. People have relied upon it. And there is one great principle of Anglo-American law, which is reliance. And if you rely on something, if the government tells you X, you may not thereafter have a post facto repudiation of that upon which you have relied. So we're not going to be changing marriage rights for same-sex people. So the center right for 33 years. We've been disappointed by Justice O'Connor and Justice Kennedy often, always by Justice Souter. Some, not me, but some are disappointed by the Chief Justice. I think his decision in Obamacare was brilliant, actually. Some are now disappointed by Justice Gorsuch. I'm not. I understand Bostock. I might even applaud Bostock after a while. It went a little bit further than it needed to, and perhaps that will change. But my point is, a lot of the people who are criticizing the president for moving quickly don't understand what's at stake. They really don't. Now, I've been teaching constitutional law 23 of the last 25 years. I'm off this year because I took a leave of absence before the pandemic. But I had intended to be doing primarily the work of the Nixon Foundation this year, and I'll be back teaching in the classroom a year from now. And it will be a new Supreme Court. And my life will have been spent watching the arc of the Constitution wobble. The Warren Court did great damage to the Constitution. The Berger and Rehnquist Court stopped the damage. The Roberts Court is slowly repairing some of the holes in the boat, and I think with a sixth justice will greatly repair the Constitution and reestablish people's confidence in the rule of law and make the Congress do what it's supposed to do. But I must tell you, what I'm going to talk about in this first hour will make you uncomfortable. But I'm speaking as a lifelong Catholic and as a student of the First Amendment and of anti-Catholic bigotry. And just so my new listeners understand, born and raised Roman Catholic, 12 years of Catholic education, Mass attending Catholic until the mid-'80s. I left the church when the bishops lost their mind and kept sending letters to the White House counsel's office that were just nuts on nuclear weapons and free enterprise. They didn't understand a thing, and they were overrun at the National Conference of Catholic Bishops by lefties who didn't understand a thing. And I couldn't go to Mass without hearing some priest say something dumb about these letters from the bishops. They just were not rooted in reality, as the fall of the wall proved. But I was patiently talked back into the church by Archbishop Chaput, then of Denver, now of Philadelphia and retired. A great man, just very patient, never angry, always persuasive. So I'm a Mass attending. I'm not a theologian, nor did I stay at a Holiday Inn last night. But I know anti-Catholicism when I see it, smell it, hear it, read it. And it's nested for many years on the far right, but now it nests on the far left and within the Democratic Party. That does not mean that the Democratic Party as a whole is anti-Catholic. They've nominated a Catholic. Their speaker is a Catholic. Some people want me to call people who call themselves Catholic not Catholic. No, not me. Catholics know, at least those who study the catechism, you cannot judge another person's soul or their commitment. You have no idea. Someone wants to call themselves a Catholic, good on them. I hope they are. But I know anti-Catholicism. I can smell it in a room. I remember the character Aaron Jastrow in the novel War, The Winds of War and War and Remembrance, saying he could smell Santayana's anti-Semitism. Well, I can smell anti-Catholicism, and some people don't even make an effort to hide it. Dianne Feinstein, Dick Durbin, who is himself a Catholic, went after Amy Coney Barrett when she was nominated for the Seventh Circuit, asking her if she was an Orthodox Catholic. Hirono, the senator from Hawaii, who is never going to win the spelling bee, indulges it. James Martin, the liberal Jesuit, has written a long article 20 years ago about anti-Catholicism, which I've tweeted out for people, and you can follow me at Hugh Hewitt. There's a great new young writer over at the National Review, Alexandra De Sanctis, who writes Democrats' anti-Catholic bigotry is all about abortion. When I come back, I'll tell you what happened yesterday after I simply noted the existence of anti-Catholicism within the Democratic Party. Not every Democrat, of course, and the Democratic Party has nominated a Catholic. I get that. But it is there within the Democratic Party, and the left went nuts. They went nuts. They don't want to be called the anti-Catholic bigots that some of them are, and some of them resent being called. I understand that, too, and we'll talk about it after the break. Don't go anywhere. The Supreme Court justice must be confirmed. It's the Hugh Hewitt